Good evening, once again welcome to the Encore Lounge at Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre. Ahead of us this week we have Rock of Ages, West Bromwich Operatic Society on stage doing their bit, and I have three of their number in front of me now. David Walters, Lyndon Flavell and Simon Pugh. Hello.
Oh yeah. All right.
Right, we're going to have to work around this story a little, I think, just because there's so much to say about this tale of music and debauchery and everything else that goes along with it. But first of all, Simon, tell us a bit of the history on West Brom, because you've been involved for quite a while and directed a number of pieces.
Yeah, I've been involved for about 7 years now. I started as a company member in a show called Producers, which was a part that I wanted to do called Max Bialystock. So that was at the Alex, and then ever since then I've sort of been involved in both of their autumn productions and then their main production, which is usually here, April, May time. So yeah.
And a chance to get on stage in a great theatre, but equally with a great company as well, because I don't think WBOS have ever done a bad production, have they?
Well, I mean, I certainly came to all of their shows before I became a member, and you know, I don't know why I didn't join sooner really, but you know, it just eventually the right time came, and you know, the right show came, and what have you. But I mean, as you say, of all the productions that I've seen, I don't think there's been a poor one, and I think that's the nice thing about the company is, regardless of how ticket sales are going or whatever, you know, they always try and set the highest standards, you know, and no expense spared really in trying to achieve that. So, you know, the show is professional in every sense of the word.
Except you're not getting paid.
That's the only drawback.
Difference is, and that is the same for all
We're working on that though, we're working on that.
Yeah.
No, we're not. That's never going to happen.
No, but there we go. And Lyndon, I've already seen you in your costume, and it's quite phenomenal, the transformation. We're going to do a transformation on David in a minute or two. We are going to send him away in a bit to get all sort of rocked up. However, you've played some interesting parts in your time with them. Was it Aida? You were in that one?
Yes, there is an Aida. I was the Prince Radames, or Ramekin. I had very numerous names that was called during the process of rehearsals. But yeah, I was in Aida, and that was very good. I started off with Judas. Can't remember when that was. About 2010.
Way back when.
Way back when.
You were but a bully, probably.
Yeah, and I've done numerous parts since. I've been very fortunate with. I was the American in Made in Dagenham last year.
Now, that was amazing, Made in Dagenham last year. I really, really enjoyed that one. We'll talk more about that a bit later. But I mean, obviously, it's interesting coming at each one of these as a new set of challenge, and you have to put yourself into a completely different place, don't you?
Yes, the difference in characters from Radames to obviously Stacey Jacks is completely different. Stacey Jacks is probably a bit more me because I come from a rock background, to be fair. Although I don't ever wear the clothes anymore. Simon used to probably remember me wearing clothes like that about 20 years ago, but not as much nowadays. Now I'm a dad of three.
Well, we'll explore both of your characters a bit when we send David off. David, before we send you away to get changed, explain a bit about your role in this, because you're one of the leads, and a bit of an interesting love story around your character.
There is, yeah. It's sort of a love triangle, really, although love might be the wrong word for Stacey's interactions with
that's
Sherry,
putting it mild.
Okay.
who's the girl at the centre of that, really. So that's Sherry, and that's played by Olivia, who isn't here yet with us. But my character is the young rock who sort of idolises Stacey Jackson, wants to make it in the rock world as a rock star. But when we meet him in the show, he's working as a bar back in the Bourbon Room Club, which is where a lot of the action takes place. And so he's just really working at the bar, doing all the menial tasks, and wants to make it. So it's about the journey that he goes on and Sherry goes on as well, with Stacey throwing up some hurdles in the middle, really, from my character's perspective anyway. And then with a brilliant soundtrack of all the 80s rock classics, really. So
all the sort of things you literally can rock out to, and you have to have the right kind of outfit for that. So
exactly.
Can we get you stood up here to start off with, standing in front of our cameras, and this is what he looks like normally, ladies and gentlemen. This is David. We can't do quite a before and after, but this is the before, remember it, and now you can go get ready for the after. So you're going to go and get yourself together. We'll see what he looks like in full outfit in a moment or two's time. Maybe sans wig, because the wigs are quite tricky to fit, and they have to have a team of about 5 people to fit it onto his head. Not saying he's got a big head or anything, but it is quite a task doing that. So we'll see what he looks like when he comes back. But meanwhile, Simon, tell us a bit about your character then, because the whole show has got, should we say edgy?
Yeah, so I play Lonnie Barnett, who he works in the club of a fashion, but he's the narrator for the show, and right from the very outset, he breaks the fourth wall between him and the audience. Mm-hmm. So the majority of my dialogue is actually with the audience, not with the other characters in the show.
And do you find that weird doing that when you're actually looking at someone? Because on stage at the Grand, anybody who's ever been on stage in a theatre or a pop venue will know you can't actually see the audience at all bar the first two rows, can you?
No. I mean, that's where I feel most at home, actually. I quite enjoy sort of that interaction and that
in the light and the darkness, but interacting nonetheless.
Yeah, and not really knowing how it's going to go each night. But I mean, the way the set is constructed, we've got stairs down into the audience, so I do end up in the audience at various points during the
Beware. He will be out there.
Don't sit on the first two rows, that's all I'm going to say. And if you've already got tickets, tough.
Yeah, you may be able to... There are people out there who will pay to have Simon come and visit them during the show. So think of them as VIP tickets, okay? That's all good. Obviously, you've both got a lot of dressing up to do. We mentioned the fact that you've got an amazing outfit, including some very tight leggings.
I've got about 4.
Yeah, but none of this leaves anything to the imagination, does it really? You are full rock god.
Yes, sir.
And how does that differ from some of the things you've done before? Because it's the 80s is a very, very specific time. You know what you're going to get from it. But in the world of amateur dramatics, the way the shows move around, you're never quite sure what's going to come next, and there's some quite exciting things ahead always, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of being involved in companies these days, is that there are so many new shows that are coming up for release, and each one is a challenge. We've gone from sort of 1957, 60 last year with Made in Dagenham.
And again, it was an absolutely brilliant show. If you missed that, you missed a treat. And it was so true to what you would have seen on stage in the West End or anywhere. If you'd put that on tour with you guys in it, no one would have batted an eyelid. They would have just been quite happy to know.
Really kind.
It was a great show.
And I think that the nice thing is that, certainly for this show and for Dagenham, the company have been sort of challenged with finding their own costumes. And actually that engages you in the show a little bit more, because you spend time researching it and finding out about it. I mean, some of us were living in the 80s, so I still remember it, as opposed to some of the cast members who...
But your age in the 80s is such that you were looking at the grown-ups dressed like this. Should we say
Thank
that
you.
way?
Just great,
yeah.
But that's the real challenge, and it's nice to sort of engage in that, because it helps you sort of get into the spirit of the show a bit more. So ordinarily your costumes would turn up the week before a show, you try them on, but we've sort of been putting ours together for months now, and the wigs did arrive last week, and that's just sort of the final touch, because you can see the total transformation.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You feel part of the show, sort of from very early on in rehearsals, because you're sort of going through that process.
Well, if you are watching on Facebook Live and want to ask a question, you can. Katie said, "What's your favourite number from the show?" Both of you can answer that. Well, Lyndon, you have a little while longer to think. I think we'll put Simon through first.
My personal, because it's weird. You go through phases of numbers in shows where, at one particular point, it'll be that one. At the moment, there's a song in Act 2 called Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison.
Yes.
And that's my favourite at the moment, because it's the only time that really all of the characters in the show are brought together as one. But it's the point in the show where things aren't quite going right. So they're all in sort of little vignettes around the stage rather than collectively. So at the moment, that Every Rose Has Its Thorn has got to be my favourite.
Now, I'm going to say nothing but a good time, but that makes us look like we're really Poison fans, because that's another Poison track.
We are Poison fans, are we not?
But I think it's just such a great feel-good tune, and it's the whole intro though from Just Like Paradise that flows straight through into Nothing But a Good Time. It just sets the show off to a good start, and it makes everyone feel like they're going to have a great evening. Which they are. It's a great fun show. Which
music you can't go wrong with, and it's a great set of songs, and many of them Midlands based as well, which makes it even a bit more special. Some Slade and all that. So it's really, really good local music. But I mean, let's look forward a little bit. Obviously, Rock of Ages is on for the 25th through 29th of April this year, but I believe there is news of next year's production.
Yeah, well, we've got 2 productions already lined up. The company are doing South Pacific this autumn, end of September. That's not here, unfortunately. That's at the Mill Theatre in Dormston in Sedgley. And then next year we're doing Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Now that's going to be absolutely amazing. And have you already lined yourself up to be in drag somewhere?
No, not yet. I'm debating that. Debating at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm sure Lyndon's
got that look that says he's going to.
You can't wait.
What's this kind of image on paint to people that I love dressing up?
You love dressing up, that's the way it is.
Yes, I do, yes.
He loves dressing up. That again, it's going to be a massive production, but coming at it with the same attitude of every single WBOS show, it's going to be a professional production with people who aren't paid in it.
I mean, one of the things with that show is it's a new release for amateur companies, and we're lucky enough to be one of the first to do it, and we'll be the first company here to do it. But the costumes, I think there's only 3 sets of costumes in the country, and one of them wasn't available for our week. So we're using another company, but I mean, the costumes for themselves are showstoppers for that particular production.
And do we have any idea who may be taking some of the lead roles? Because you need a fairly beefy fella for the main lead. And
not really.
You're going to try and con young David into it.
And I think
I'm sure David might.
We can find out because he just reappeared. David, do come and stand just here. We were just thinking ahead to Priscilla and maybe what you could be ended up wearing next year.
Well, I'm not an expert at putting guideline on, which is why it's taking me probably longer. We're a bit more next year, perhaps.
Anything could happen, but this is the look, and
minus the wig.
Well, obviously the wig to follow, but getting in those jeans must have been a bit of a nightmare. They're fairly tight. Do come and take a seat back there. Actually, first of all, give everyone a quick twirl. I think back in here, in front of the camera. Let's have the twirl. There should be music for this, but
show the T-shirt, man. The Guns N' Roses T-shirt.
And David, you've been in a number of shows over the years, and this isn't your first outing with West Bromwich Operatic, is it?
No, it's not. My first show with the company was Titanic in 2012, I think.
Yeah. So,
which we were all in, actually. So.
Yeah, but it is again a nice group, and
it is, yeah.
You've been one of the youngest in here. You've actually grown up with a lot of these people, and they've helped develop you and your skills in the theatre. And this isn't something that you do full time either. Is it even something that you maybe look at? These two are too old to go off to university. But you've done your studying as well, haven't you? This isn't going to be your main line of work ever.
No, I think I'm probably older than you, hinting at there.
You're 9 and 30, aren't you?
28.
28, yeah, 9 and 30. But I mean, you've been turning up in shows that I've seen since you're probably about 17, 18 when you first turned up in a radio studio and sang a tune for us.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's obviously been a love and a passion. So let's put it. Why haven't you got into it full time?
I enjoy doing it as a hobby. I've got all of my friends do it, and it's a great social activity. We all get on well. We have great after-show parties, which is a bit but it is really a great network, and I have been quite academic with my history as well. So I work in a law firm in Wolverhampton, so it's a far cry from my day job. But in some ways that's great because I get 2 aspects and get to do one thing which I really like, and then my hobby is what I have a passion for as well, and I really enjoy doing that as well. So best of both worlds, really.
Now, when you're in this stage of rehearsals, do you all find yourself having a bit of a sing-songly dance, whether it's in the car or whether in the law firm? You stood by the photocopier, and before you know it, you're belting out something classic and rocky from the 80s.
Just be a little bit careful, maybe under my breath. We go dancing through the office sometimes. You know?
When I first started, I used to do by the photocopier at the company I worked for. Then I used to practice with tap dancing or something like that. Sometimes I do it at work now, but people laugh at me a bit more like I'm a fireman, so but they do like it. They have come along and watched the shows, and they've all really enjoyed it whenever they've come down to watch them. So
being a fireman is just another chance for you to dress up, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
that's what it is. And so obviously you work in places that have stages periodically, don't you?
Yeah, I work at Forest Arts Centre in Walsall, so they're quite used to me dancing up and down.
If you would have been theatrical, it would be.
But I mean, I get the best of both worlds as well. Is that I teach this to younger people. I run a couple of youth theatres, and I also do some programming. So it's nice to be able to sort of do it as a hobby as well, where it's not just work, and I can turn up to rehearsal and just sort of get involved and let somebody else take the rehearsals and say, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. That's a nice way to sort of kick off from the daytime job. So I thoroughly enjoy sort of both aspects of it.
And so it's going to be a great show, and you're going to be bringing loads of people along. Sean Doubley says his daughter's turning into a proper metalhead. It's coming on Saturday afternoon. Looking forward to the show. For your average metalhead, what's going to be the standout track, do you think, that's going to get them rocking in the arse?
I don't know.
For a metalhead, possibly I Want to Rock. That's
I Want to Rock.
Quite heavy metal compared to some of the others. But there's a great range of all the rock tunes, but I think I Want to Rock's quite heavy.
So Sean, be ready for that one being done as a rendition, probably in the car on the way back or around and about somewhere there. And obviously we've got to let you go because you've got your dress rehearsal tonight.
Yep.
And is that when the magic really starts to happen, as soon as you're actually on stage here? Because I've been along to rehearsals, you're throwing yourselves into it and you have a great time when you're doing that. But is that when it really twigs it's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got every element from the production side. You know, you've got the band or the orchestra, you know, the costumes, the lighting, sound, all of that. But actually, the thing that makes it is the audience. And until you've got them on the opening night, you know, performing to an empty theatre, as thrilling and as wonderful as the Grand is, it's not quite the same without people in it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, tonight is an opportunity just to make sure that everything's in place and you all know what's happening. And
know you're standing in front of that amazing set.
Yeah. Well,
it's a big set. It's a really, really big set.
You know, and we've got, as we've said to you in the past, we've got the band on stage with us this year. Yeah. So that feel of having the music directly behind you. But, you know, you can't beat the first night when you come out and the audience are there slap bang in front of you, because at the end of the day, that's what we all do it for. You know, you enjoy the process, but you want to perform it to people. And
it's those tingling nerves that you get before you go out before an audience as well. And without their feedback coming back to you, you've got nothing, have you? And with a show like this, which, as Simon's already said, you break that fourth wall. You need that to drive it forward as well, and that'll just make it better.
That's going to be an amazing show. All the families coming along at some point, I trust. And you don't have to drag them along either, do you? That's the thing. They're all voluntarily turning up.
Maybe, well, not some of the younger ones in this, because of some of the content matter. But you know, I mean, you know, we're always well supported by family and friends, and that's why amateur companies survive. Because without them, you know, you need audiences from the theatre's point of view that are coming to lots of shows here. But you need family and friends to support you, because that's why you do it. You know, you do it for the love of it. You know, none of us get paid to do it, but you want that. You want that sort of family connection when people come along and see you on stage. You know, you can't beat that. And part of my family's in it, so my daughter's in it this week. Yeah. So I've got my wife and son coming along later in the week. But you know that's you do it for them.
And they understand why you then grow facial hair that looks like that. Which, if it wasn't for the par, I think you'd probably want to keep.
This has just happened. I don't know what work I'm going to say tomorrow when I go.
What on earth?
You need to see the whole look.
Yes.
Come and see the whole look, and then you'll get it.
Yeah. Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre, 25th through to the 29th of April. Come along, see the show. grandtheatre.co.uk to get your tickets online. 01902 429212 is the box office number. Come and see these guys and the rest of a cast of how many?
14.
Yeah, and including the band, or
no,
plus the band.
Yeah, and backstage.
Yeah, and the whole group. Check out their Facebook page. WBOS is what you're looking for on there. Check out all the details. But come along, support them. They're a great group of people, and they're very, very talented, as you will be able to see when you see this on stage. Keep looking back at the Facebook page for Wolverhampton Grand as well. You'll find all sorts of interviews online there, and you can also go along to milkbarpodcast.com and you can find out more about all the events taking place in and around the theatre and in and around the city. But lads, thank you for joining us. We're very much looking forward to the show. Rock of Ages at the Grand Theatre. Come along and see it. Thanks for joining us, and ta-ra for now.